Patrick was born in the mid-90s as a single child to a lower middle-income family. Inexperienced, his mother and father both tried to raise him as best as they could, so they spent the little money they possessed on toys and took him to the fun park. He grew up playing with others and by himself with the toys that he wanted. Patrick's happy days, however, would soon be shadowed by rectangular, old and dusty bundles of dry, sharp paper with what seemed to him to have meaningless scribbles on it. "What is this?" asked the 6-year-old Patrick to his mother. "This is a tale of Pinocchio. Have you ever heard of the magical doll whose nose grows every time he lies?" "No, I've never heard of him, but I'm not sure how this is a tale. And where is the doll?" Perplexed, Patrick couldn't fathom the fact that in that paper cube lie thousands of words encoded into a story that is based in a completely different universe created by another human being. He never really did get the chance to discover that in his childhood either. You see, when Patrick's parents realized how important it is for him to start reading, they immediately pushed that idea onto him. Uneducated in how to educate, his parents essentially forced Patrick to blur out sentences from a book that he did not like. He couldn't understand the reason to be tortured into decoding the symbols that turned into words, which later turned into phrases, and then sentences. He only ever managed to say what the sentences were saying, but he never got around to ponder over their meaning. In addition, his parents didn't ask him about what he had read. They were only happy when the reading session was over for the day. As soon as Patrick had read a few lines, things would go back to normal in their household. Patrick would play with his toys again, and his parents could, finally, rest in front of the TV. In his formative years, the reading sessions came and went sporadically. While one month his parents would completely forget about it, the next month Patrick would get scared to see his father's angered, red face yelling at him for not reading 5 pages a day. It didn't help that his parents were struggling with work. Stressed out, they tried to time manage the reading sessions, but were so stressed from working that they never succeeded in making it fun for him. On the period when his parents were active in the reading sessions, they would put him in a different room, away from the toys, so that he wouldn't have any distractions. Eventually, though, Patrick found a way to avoid a lot of reading by just falling asleep with the book on him. A lot of crying took place, and once he started school, his parents would finally quit torturing their kid with the meaningless task of blurring out words from a page, and let the teachers take on the burden. His teachers, though, never really tried to make reading fun for Patrick, so he couldn't get around to ever following the story in a book in his childhood. The reading group or class would start memorizing a poem or a story about a nationalistic hero of their country, but Patrick could always distract himself from ever even listening to the story. There was always something else that seemed to be more interesting at those times, be it a toy or his phone, which he held secretly in his pocket. One time, Patrick randomly decided to get seriously and memorize a poem, so he did. But when the day came to repeat the poem, he got picked last by this teacher. He was unbelievably frustrated, commenting on every other kid that repeated the poem. Just this one time, Patrick thought, he could show that he really tried to do this meaningless task, just to get the attention and praise which he hungered for as a child. A lot of tears from his eyes ran that day. There were in fact many other similar days in his school years. Patrick finished high school with average grades despite not having read a single book. In English class, for example, whenever there was a book project, he could always find the information from the internet to write a book review, and before a book discussion, he could always watch a video that summarizes and reviews the book that he should have read. After a few years of struggling to find a job, he finally started to work as a cleaner in a school. He first worked there as an apprentice, and once he figured out the basics of the job, the company that employed him gave him a chance to work without supervision. After the first 3 months, he learned which toilets needed more scrubbing and what classrooms needed the least attention for cleaning. After his job finally became a routine, he could just switch off his brain and do the job. In his free time, though, he couldn't just sit still. He needed some form of stimulation, so he went online, but only to find people more successful than him. From seeing CEOs and influencers online, to seeing the differences between how he dressed and how the teachers in his school dressed. This made Patric feel like a failure for society, a stranger in a foreign land, an outcast, or even an outsider. One day, as Patric was cleaning, he saw a copy of The Stranger by Albert Camus lying there on the floor. Something about the title intrigued him, and for some reason unbeknownst to him, he picked it up and opened the first page and read the first sentence. "Mother died today, or maybe yesterday. I can't be sure." What? How can somebody not care about a relative that died? This was maybe the first time Patric had ever thought about a character's attitude in a book. The first time he reacted emotionally to a literary work of art. He didn't know if he was going to finish the book. He looked at it for a bit and wasn't too scared of it. The book looked small, so there shouldn't be too much to read. Maybe he didn't even have to finish it. He just wanted to get to know the character's reason for thinking that way about his dead mother. And then he would return the book to the school library. "Oh, excuse me. Hi," said a soft voice from behind. "Hi, yes? I happened to drop one of my books for class, and you seem to have found it." "All right, I'm sorry." No need to apologize. I see that you started reading it. Do you like Camus' work?" "Well, I never actually read—" "Oh, I love his work," she interrupted. "He questions our very purpose in this universe in a very creative way." "Really? It sounds like I have some questions for the universe myself." "Haha. But you should give it a go. I have plenty of copies of The Stranger." "Really? Can I borrow it?" "Yes, of course. Why don't you just take a break and go to the teacher's lounge? I can make some coffee while you rest and read there." This is too kind. What if I get in trouble?" "What trouble? You are just as much part of the school as I am. I never see you taking a break anyway. You deserve it." He felt a little awkward initially, sitting on the comfortable sofa with the book in his lap, looking at the female teacher's back as she was brewing the coffee. "So what's your name?" he asked. "Jessica. And yours?" "Patric." "Nice meeting you, Patric." "Likewise." They both smiled at each other and then took a few silent sips of the freshly brewed coffee. "Books are like people." "I'm sorry?" asked Patric. "Well, both have something new to offer us, a new perspective of life." "I see. Don't you agree?" "Well, I'm not much of a reader, so I can't really see your point yet." "Do you think that my world's point of view is the same as yours?" "No." "Right. And do you think that my values might be the same as yours, like 100% the same?" "Maybe." "Well, are you a vegan, for example?" "No." "I am. Thus, our values differ." "Oh, okay. But what's your point?" "My point is that since we have different perspectives in the world and we have different values, then we can share our experiences and enlighten ourselves for that. And it's the same with books. Since they are written by people, they too have different points of views, and they can also show the world their different values." Wait. What do you mean by enlightenment? I'm sorry, I don't have such a rich vocabulary as you." "That's quite alright. We humans learn from each other after all. Enlightenment basically means to be more aware of the universe around us." "Wow. I never really thought of it like that." "You're very curious, and you're quiet. It's pretty cute." As their conversation went on, they liked each other more and more. Eventually, their coffee break came to an end, and then they agreed to meet up again the next day, but only on the condition that they both read a little bit of the book, The Stranger, so that they could have something to talk about. They not only talked about the story of the book, but since it is minimalistic in its description, it leaves plenty of room to discuss the characters' intentions and their internal values, and from there see the common themes of the story. Patric was both intrigued and disgusted by what had happened in the story, and was thus captivated by it. Jessica sparked something magical inside of him. Maybe it was a connection that he felt towards her in junction to the newly discovered way of experiencing the world through a magical, rectangular dry paper with scribbles on it that has invaluable meaning.